There are careers that arrive like a flare and then burn out. There are careers that glow steady and warm for a long time. And then there are careers that bend time, stretching brilliance across decades, turning reinvention into habit, and making longevity itself feel like a kind of peak. LeBron James's Lakers chapter reads like that last kind of career. Not a tidy list of accomplishments, but a long, complicated narrative of adaptation, pressure, spectacle, and proof. When he chose purple and gold in 2018, he didn't merely sign a contract, he stepped into a franchise that measures everything against myth. He also arrived with a resume heavy enough to crush lesser stories. Multiple NBA championships, 2012 and 2013 with Miami, the historic 2016 comeback with Cleveland, and the 2020 title with the Lakers. Multiple finals MVPs across different teams, Olympic gold medals, and a catalogue of single nights and slow burns that together rewrite what longevity means in professional sport. Those are the facts at the spine of this story. The trophies, the medals, the finals accolades, the signature displays of scoring and orchestration. And they frame one stubborn question. What does LeBron mean to the Lakers? And how should we judge greatness when a career runs long enough to touch many different versions of the game? From the first paragraph of his Los Angeles story, there was friction. The city is a market of attention and historically uncompromising in its demand for spectacle. For the Lakers, being great is never private. Every season is a drama, every injury a headline, every trade a conference centerpiece. When LeBron arrived, critics sharpened their knives, age becomes a popular weapon in such debates, and social feeds became an hour-by-hour audit of his every move. But if you observe his career without the noise, you see a man who treats crisis as curriculum.
Kuzma to LeBron, lays it up and in. First 2 points of the game for LeBron. Here come the Lakers. Into the front court, Rondo to LeBron. LeBron down the middle, puts it up and in. LeBron 360, turn, spin, give it to Rondo, back to LeBron, top of the key. Three-pointer by LeBron is good.
Where others shorten their range, he broadens his craft. Where some players accept the shrinking of their role as a mercy, LeBron studies the geometry of the court until he finds new lines. He has always been a physical marvel. In Los Angeles, he added another dimension, the ability to morph his game into anything the roster and the moment demanded. A narrative like this needs anchor points, and LeBron supplied them. In May 2018, he produced one of those single-night performances that enter the sport's memory bank. 51 points in Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
James drives past Curry, gets inside, and throws it down. Boston, Game 7, Houston, James drives and finishes. Great to see him back on the floor. James drives past Livingston and throws it down.
A game so saturated with personal brilliance that it almost rewrote the immediate storyline, even though the team result was not a win. That night, the stat line, 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, was more than a highlight. It was a public declaration that age was not a fixed variable for him, that the ability to burst into prime-level scoring could still arrive on demand. That kind of raw output is what franchises crave. Proof that in any given high-stakes moment, the champion can produce a singular, unavoidable performance. But LeBron's Lakers story is not made of only flare-ups. It is also a study in cumulative achievement. He came to LA having already earned Olympic gold, proof that his game translated across FIBA's different mechanics and into an international flow. And those medals carry a gravity of their own because they are team accomplishments earned inside a different competitive grammar. They say this: LeBron is not merely an NBA phenomenon. He is a player whose skill set and leadership work in multiple rule sets with different teammates and under different kinds of pressure. A world championship or Olympic title is not an appendix to a career. It is evidence that the player's influence is portable. His arrival in Los Angeles required an answer to 2 practical questions. Could he still be the engine of a title run? And could he remake a franchise that had drifted? The Lakers were a city with memory and expectation. They had not won a title in a decade. They had been through public failures, truncated rebuilds, and the slow erosion of a once dominant identity. What the franchise needed was more than a star. It needed a steady center of gravity. LeBron provided both spectacle and steadiness, but his brand of steadiness is not passive. It's an active, generative kind of ownership. He organized defense from the court, pushed younger players to standards of preparation, and, crucially, he showed he could carry the weight of Los Angeles' cultural demands while still producing at a level that mattered in playoff basketball. The 2019-20 season is the fulcrum of LeBron's Lakers mythos. The roster finally filled in important pieces around him and a dominant pairing materialized. Anthony Davis, a two-way force capable of rim protection, post-scoring, and efficient pick-and-roll finishing. The combination of LeBron's gravitational playmaking and Davis's interior dominance created a synergy that history often requires from championship teams. This partnership was tactical and organic. LeBron's ball handling and vision forced defenses to collapse, and Davis punished the resulting pockets of space. The math is simple on paper and complicated in reality. A playmaking star who creates attention combined with a big who finishes and protects the rim is one of the few enduring formulas for postseason success. In Los Angeles, those pieces fit. Then everything around the game changed. A global pandemic closed stadiums, suspended seasons, and rearranged the calendar. For a team steeped in ritual and the weight of home crowds, the world stopping was an existential threat. The NBA's bubble in Orlando was not simply a logistical plan, it was a mental stress test. In that environment, the Lakers, under LeBron's quieter but relentless leadership, proved durable. Over 6 finals games in 2020, he posted numbers that looked like a manifesto for leadership in modern basketball, averaging roughly 29.8 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 8.5 assists. And he received the finals MVP. The victory provided a rare composite validation. The trophy was earned in a season that demanded psychological resilience, and the finals MVP confirmed that when the lights were at their most sterile and the pressure was unusual, LeBron's influence still translated into the specific result every franchise covets. He delivered a banner under the most complicated conditions any modern champion has faced. But a story that leans only on trophies becomes a ledger rather than a story. The texture of this chapter is in its contrasts. There were nights in purple and gold where the rhythm turned brittle, roster fits failed, injuries bit at the wrong times, and the league's new offenses exposed spacing weaknesses. There were seasons where free agent gambles did not pay off, where the waiting for chemistry stretched into months, and where the narrative around the team's identity felt unsettled. Those problems are routine in modern sport. They are not a unique indictment of legacy or talent. Still, they are part of the record and part of the truth. The Lakers' post-LeBron roster history includes both triumph and misstep, and that friction is important because it humanizes a story that otherwise reads like myth. This is a chapter that never promised perfection. It offered evolution, and evolution is messy. A meaningful narrative also demands comparison, because legends only live meaningfully in relation to other legends. Place LeBron beside Magic Johnson and you see parallels. Both changed how the point of attack looked for their teams. Both are supreme playmakers who organize offense as much as they score. And both had a charisma that reshaped the chemistry of a roster. Place him beside Kobe Bryant and you feel the difference in temperament. Kobe was the merciless perfectionist, the solitary hunter of shots. LeBron approaches greatness less as a single-minded executioner and more as an infrastructure builder. He makes teams, not only himself. Put him next to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and longevity becomes the comparison point. Kareem's skyhook and record book were monuments of relentless excellence. LeBron's scoring record, eventually surpassing Kareem's total, is a modern reinterpretation of the same idea. Steadiness over time yields monuments. These comparisons do not seek to dethrone or crown, they simply give the viewer a map so they can understand the unique shape of LeBron's impact in Los Angeles. Contrast that with the modern superstars who define this era. Stephen Curry reshaped defenses by making the three-point line a new axis of gravity. Giannis Antetokounmpo reimagined how power and length can dominate two-way performance. Kevin Durant proved that a perimeter scoring savant could carry a team while barely appearing to exert force. Kawhi Leonard taught a generation how quiet, efficient dominance looks in the postseason. LeBron's advantage among these contemporaries is breadth. He can score like Durant on certain nights, orchestrate like Curry's movement principles when the situation requires it, defend with the intelligence of Kawhi, and bully like Giannis when necessary. His Lakers seasons are a study in applying that breadth to the specific needs of his franchise. Sometimes he was the primary scorer, sometimes the chief architect, and often both. The viewer should take from that not a confusion of roles, but an admiration for flexibility, the art of being effective in the league's multiple dimensions. There are micro moments in this story that deserve to be lingered on because they reveal the ceremony of craft. Watch an end-of-clock sequence from a crucial playoff game. LeBron gets the ball at the elbow, the defense slides, an extra hand appears, he reads the rotation, he tilts his weight, and a pass appears as if it were the natural consequence of his breath. Or picture a late-game drive where LeBron doesn't just fly by a defender, he manipulates the help defender's posture with a hint of shoulder pressure and then finishes with a subtle reverse layup that removes both the rim and the narrative from the opponent's script. These are not cinematic flourishes, they are the mechanics of a player whose intelligence governs his physicality. That is the modern LeBron, a man whose body is a tool and whose mind is the design manual. These moments explain why his influence persists even when his raw athleticism is not what it once was. And yet it is not only in action that LeBron's mark is visible. He changed the culture in Los Angeles by raising the internal bar. Rookies and veterans learned from him in daily routines, film study, early morning workouts, and a relentless attention to recovery and nutrition. He modeled a professionalism that was less about public declarations and more about habit. This is why mentorship becomes a tangible return on investment for the franchise. The younger players who absorbed that discipline improved in measurable ways, and the team's overall approach to preparation shifted. In large market franchises, culture is currency. LeBron spent a lot of it, and in return the Lakers became more than a highlight team. They became an institution again, capable of serious postseason work. That change will be visible years from now in roster construction, the habits of players who grew under him, and the way the franchise recruits. Not everything was perfect. The Lakers made moves that failed, and injuries sabotaged promising runs. There were seasons where bench scoring evaporated, where three-point spacing was inconsistent, and where the team's identity blurred. It's part of the truth and part of the game that not every move lands. But those missteps do not erase the high points. The banner, the finals MVP, the individual nights, and the slow accrual of records. They complicate the story and make it human. They are also a reminder that superstars, as powerful as they are, operate inside systems of general managers, coaches, medical staffs, and luck. To hold LeBron solely responsible for organizational misfires is to misread the sport's complexity. He is a force multiplier. He is not a replacement for structural competence. The milestone moments stitch the narrative into a cloth that is both showy and durable. Winning the 2020 championship was not the only signal. Passing Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer was a different kind of vindication. The trophy is the championship's immediate, visceral proof. The scoring record is a slow, stubborn argument made 1 point at a time. The two together, the ability to peak and produce in a finals run, and the ability to accumulate points over decades, form a tough kind of evidence for anyone who wants to claim LeBron's Lakers years are anything less than historically consequential. Those milestones are not mere headlines, they are chapters in a career that has refused to fit into a single template. This is also a human story, and human stories, even the most mythic, require small, honest touches. There were nights when the weight of expectation bent his shoulders. There were moments of private fatigue that did not make the highlight reels but mattered in the locker room. He called meetings with players late at night and sat with them not as a distant idol, but as someone who had spent years in the trenches. He worried about legacy as much as any athlete does, and he reacted to the city's grief after tragic losses with a composure that was both studied and sincere. Those human details are not fillers. They're the connective tissue that turns career milestones into legacy. If you feel the pull of this story and want the next chapter with the same depth, give this a like and subscribe so we can keep tracking the long arcs, the chapters that don't fit into a single season but shape the sport for decades. Those small gestures help keep long-form narratives alive in a world of short attention spans. The GOAT debate will continue forever because it is inherently comparative and partly sentimental. Some will point to Jordan's flawless finals record, others to Kareem's long-standing efficiency, others to modern legends' peaks. LeBron's Lakers era doesn't settle the debate on its own. What it does is supply a crucial argument in favor of adaptability and historic breadth. He won championships in 3 different franchises. He was Finals MVP in multiple contexts, and he carried an entire franchise back to the center of the sport while also climbing the top of the scoring ladder. Those facts complicate any simple story of greatness and demand a richer measure than rings alone. They invite the viewer to consider both peak and persistence when judging a legacy. There will be 1,000 stories told about LeBron and the Lakers. Some will be hagiography, some will be critique, most will be somewhere in between. But the essential evidence remains: a championship in 2020 that required leadership in an unprecedented season. Finals MVP recognition that confirmed his centrality to that success. Signature scoring nights that proved his ability to still carry an offense on any given evening, Olympic golds that stitched his skill to global competition, and a scoring record that proves longevity equals historical impact. These facts are not ornamental. They are the pillars of a career that remade itself again and again. And the human ending, because every chapter needs one that lands on the reader as much as the camera, is simple but resonant. LeBron's time in Los Angeles is imperfect and luminous at once. He did not arrive as a flawless savior, but he left and continues to leave a mark that will echo. A banner that healed a city's need for a moment of catharsis, a string of nights that reminded us the elite can still erupt when necessary, and a record book adjustment that insists history must make room for durability. For those who believe greatness is a single peak, that narrative will continue to center other names. For those who measure greatness across eras, systems, and seasons, LeBron's Lakers chapter is definitive proof that reinvention is itself a kind of supremacy. If you want more deep, patient stories like this, the long arcs, the signature nights, the quiet details that make legends legible, press like and subscribe, and we'll keep telling them, one long chapter at a time. LeBron's Lakers story is not finished. It will continue to be debated, edited, and admired. But in the lines already written, the rings, the medals, the finals MVPs, the signature scoring nights, the mentorship, and the record-breaking accumulation, there is enough evidence to say this. He did not only win a championship for Los Angeles, he reshaped what a modern Lakers legend can look like. He showed that longevity, when married to craft and will, can change how the game recognizes greatness. That is his proof. That is his legacy. And that is why, in a city that values myth, LeBron James became once again something close to indispensable.